Welcome back to 19 Days of Illuminated Darkness and part two of our story, Winter Fires. My thanks to all of you for allowing me to pause yesterday in our countdown so that I could give some reflection on just how important it is, not only this time of the year, but at all times of the year, to acknowledge, to reach out, and to make sure that those who are near and dear to us really do know that we love them, we care about them, and that we will be there for them. So, without further ado, part two and the continuation of Winter Fires. Flickering light shone through the trees, and the smell of fragrant wood burning wafted through the air. Lily walked slowly, the snow crunching underfoot. She hoped not to frighten away the woodland creatures and did not want to make her presence known to whoever may be responsible for the lights ahead. As she walked along the path that she knew would lead her to where she could see the light, she noticed that the flickering of light seemed to be pulsing in resonance to her breath. Excited by this thought, she began to breathe more rapidly, and with each inhalation and exhalation, the light flickered, matching its rhythm. No longer giving any mind to making noise, Lily began running towards the light as the trees and ground surrounding took on a deeper glow, now more fully lit and accentuated. Just a few feet ahead of her now, and the mystery would be solved. Lily pushed through the final group of trees, blocking her full view, and as she stepped through, she gasped in awe of what she was looking at. The area was cleared and snow-laden, a circle of the forest trees bordering the pristine whiteness. At its center, orange flames leapt high into the winter night, gracefully moving and undulating. This in and of itself would have been enough of a surprise, but the outline of a tall and almost crystalline-filled woman stood just behind the flames, her arms moving to and fro as if conducting how each strand of light would weave itself into the liquid visage. Lily dared not take too deep a breath, not wanting to disturb the beauty of the scene. Slowly, as though her thoughts had been spoken, the woman looked towards Lily and moved as if to come closer. Lily stood perfectly still in her tracks, mesmerized and marveling at the grace of the woman as she moved. This movement was more like a skimming of the surface of the snow, not a sound being made, and echoes of the tracing of her body followed rhythmically as though leaving an imprint behind every step taken forward. The woman was framed in the light of the fires behind her, yet appeared to be glowing of her own accord, as though lit from within, and Lily could now see more distinctly the woman's face. Long silver hair, adorned by a crown of sparkling snow crystals, framed a delicate face that was a shade of translucent whiteness, much like that of the shimmering snow itself. Her eyes twinkled in much the same way of the starlight that Lily loved to look up at on warm summer nights with a star-filled sky, and their flickers of light filled color matching her gown. She lifted her gaze towards the night sky, called out, her voice of whisper of silvery sound, as a smile spread sweetly across lips that were red as a hollyberry. Lily breathed in deeply, and as she exhaled a frosty breath, a white wolf moved from behind the woman and came to stand at his companion's side. Lily had seen enough white wolves before to know that this was no ordinary wolf, just as its companion was no ordinary woman. His thick coat of fur was flecked with lights of blues and pale, icy greens, and he too shimmered as though bedecked in thousands of ice crystals, reflecting the light of the fire behind. Light surrounded both as they took a few more paces towards Lily, and in the full radiance of sparkling light that reminded her of the picture she had seen of the northern lights, the woman extended her hand, beckoning Lily towards her. Lily stepped forward and immediately felt the warmth and gentleness emanating from this beautiful being. The woman leaned towards Lily and told her that she was the Lady of Winter, and that she had seen Lily many times coming out into the freshly fallen snow and treading ever so lightly so as not to disturb its beauty. She told her that her wolf had taken many of the forms of small creatures that Lily so loved, and had gifted her more than once with interactions that would not normally have occurred. Lily smiled when she heard this, remembering one such occasion when she had gotten so close to a small furry chipmunk that was feasting on holly berries. She thought it strange at the time that it did not seem to notice her, but dismissed it as the result of her hard work at honing her skills of silence. The Lady of Winter turned and pointed to the fires behind her. They had risen even higher now, and their glow was otherworldly. She explained to Lily that once a year, at the time of the winter solstice, she selects a very special place to light her fires and call to one who has treasured and guarded the beauty of her woods and the life within. The fires were the first beacon of light that could be seen only by one chosen, and these were the fires of the rising sun's light that would burst forth, renewed at the dawning of the solstice morning. As the Lady of Winter spoke these words, Lily could now see what had appeared as a fire was a vision of the orb of the sun rising from the wintry ground, its tendril of flame stretching outward and its gift of light born anew as each day would stand longer in its warming rays. It was breathtaking in its beauty and overwhelming in its power, and tears filled Lily's eyes in recognition of this gifting. She saw the images of her beloved woods and the cycle of regrowth this sun would bring. A slideshow of changing seasons filled her vision. As the sun rose higher in the sky, the days lengthened, and from the space of this season's darkness, the woods became lush and verdant in life. The cycles of change continued in the heat of the summer and fullness of blossom and bud. Aromas of fragrant summer flora wafting through the air, and fireflies darted here and there, sharing their own special light. The smell of crackling leaves and the setting of the sun's light crowded in, and darkness claimed its necessary hold as the cold wove its own patterns throughout, and the first gentle snowfall began. And with the image of this sun's demise and the longer day of night, the brilliance of the fires had retreated, and she and the Lady of Winter stood in the velvety blackness of a star-filled night. Lily looked into eyes that were crystalline and sparkling, and in those eyes she saw all of the times passing, and she believed also the faintest glimmer of an image of the Lady of Summer. Lily stood spellbound in this reverie for what seemed like quite some time, feeling the energy of all that she was experiencing moving through her now. She had always honored the winter solstice in her own small ways, but now she began to truly feel its deeper meaning and the magic of life that it provided. The Lady of Winter smiled, and Lily knew that their time together was soon to end. Large, wet flakes of snow began to fall once again, and the sound of the lady's voice could be heard in the space between each perfectly formed flake. I will leave you now, but I have something to give you as a memory of this night. What I ask in return is that you continue to safeguard this space, that you honor the darkness and light of winter, and that you call out to the Lady of Summer when her time is nigh. And at each winter solstice, you will carry this globe into the woods and call out to the suns rising in my name. The flames within will awaken the dawn's rebirth, and the land will be quickened and ready to sustain for the life it holds. And lest you forget this night and my gift, the globe will shatter into the icy strands from which it is woven, and you will not remember any of the blessings of this experience. Will you take my gift and honor its responsibility? Lily nodded yes, and tears of gratitude streamed down her face. The lady breathed silvery wisps into the chilly night air, and a globe formed from the icy tendrils of her breath. It was beautiful glass, and inside was an image of a snowfall. She moved the globe, tracing wispy trails in the air, and a base of finely chiseled ice wove a circular base around the bottom of the globe. The Lady of Winter gently placed the globe in Lily's hand, and as she breathed into it one final time, a small flickering of light could be seen. As the globe touched Lily's hand, she looked up to express her thanks, and the lady was gone. A few feet away, a small chipmunk stopped in its tracks, looked at Lily, and then disappeared under a nearby holly bush. Lily could barely contain her excitement, and although treading very carefully, marveled that she had reached her cottage and was back on the front porch in record time. Leaving her boots behind, and for a moment seeming as though she had just come out and not been for the weight of the globe in her hands, she would have questioned whether any of her experience had actually happened. She looked around. The sky was still and quiet. The snow had fallen softly once again, and she felt a sense of peace and rest. She walked inside and placed the globe on the mantle of her fireplace. The flickering of the winter fires in the globe seemed to pulse in resonance with the flickering of flame in the hearth. She moved closer to get a better look, and as the snow slowed and gave more visibility, Lily gasped in surprise. Inside the globe, and standing up in the sky, was the image of the Lady of Winter herself. She was strewn in each and every snowflake. She was strewn across the reflection of light that shined beautifully through this globe. Hoping that perhaps the lady was outside, Lily pushed the door open and stepped out into her porch. And what she saw filled her with wonder, and the words of the lady filled the air. Snow was falling, and through the tips of the trees, the solstice sun was rising. Its rising was heralding its return and the light that it would bring. And she, Lily of the Woods, would honor its rising each year, welcoming the winter fires as the sun's orb gives life to the world. Blessed be. May your journey into the winter fires be one of peace, of gratitude, and of strength.